All right. Welcome, Rejects, to another late Wednesday night show. It's where we get together, we crack one if you got them, and we talk about movies. And this week we are talking about Fletch Lives, the 1989 Chevy Chase comedy. Anyway, I'm here with my co-host, Cody. How are you, sir?
Howdy, if anyone's out there at this time of night.
Yes. It is it's very late, and normal people are usually in bed by now, but we're not normal, are we, Cody? Not by
No,
a long
far
shot.
from it. And we do this because I work till 11 o'clock at night. So that's part of why we talk such a late night to talk about movies.
Right. But hopefully people go back and watch them, and if not, I don't understand it, man. What are you doing? I don't get it. You're disappointing us. Go watch. Anyway,
I mean, if you don't watch this one, that's fine. This is probably going to be like the least watched one out of all the ones we've done
right.
so far.
Yeah, it was meh. Like I said in the title. But we'll get into that. Anyway, this is rated PG.
Wow, I had totally didn't even notice. It's rated PG. How did they get away with that?
Yeah. Well, I don't
Because
know.
in '89 they had the PG-13 rating,
and they were getting away with F words in PG-13, but this was beyond F words. I think this was this one definitely needed a hard PG-13
yeah.
rating.
I mean, besides the elephant in the room of the culturally insensitive jokes to the South, not them making fun of the South, but like just the stereotypes, and then
Right.
all the like. The first movie also had this warning, and there are a few things in the original Fletch that haven't aged well, but I feel like everything in this sequel is like upped by 1,000.
Yeah, I think they were like, look, let's see how much further we can push it. Did he play blackface in the first one when he was the basketball
I don't
player?
remember if he's actually in blackface, but I remember in his dream sequence with the afro on, I'm like, why do you have an afro in your dream? Like,
Right.
you could be a white basketball player. This is the 80s. I know he's a Lakers fan, but Larry Bird was very popular in the 80s. So,
All right. I was just gonna
like,
say, didn't Larry Bird have an afro?
no, he
But
didn't.
that's no, he went bald for a while. Yeah, I remember that.
So, but yeah, that's like the biggest one from the original. And like, yeah, he's being like a sexual harasser, but not like he is in this one. Like, it's like upped. Like, I'm wondering if that was like Chevy Chase is like, yeah, if we're gonna do a sequel, can I have like more sex in this one than I did in the first movie?
Yeah, it was definitely, amped up. I was just sitting there like, man, wow, I did not. Now, we didn't get a chance to watch the first one yesterday like we were wanting to, because I was really wanting to compare them, because it's been a while
Oh,
since I've
that's
seen them
too
both.
bad. Because
Yeah,
I think the first one's still a really good movie, even though it's dated. Whereas
yeah.
this movie is not. It's like they tried to recapture the formula
Mhm.
and it didn't quite work. And now
Right.
I know these are based off a series of books. So I imagine the plots are somewhat the same in every story. Like Fletch
So
is
if John Hamm goes through with it, I wonder what direction he's going to take it. Are they going to try to? I mean, surely they're going to have to tone it down a bit.
well, they'll
You
probably
know,
modernize it a little bit. And like, I don't know how the character's written in the novels, but I mean, John Hamm is more than capable of playing a smartass kind
right.
of sleazy journalist.
Like
And
I'm
that's
not
the
gonna
thing.
lie, that like even as dated as this movie is, and it's as inappropriate, there were some one-liners that he had because of his unique way of being a smartass. Um, but I don't know. There were just far too many over the line jokes. Uh,
Yeah, there's just too much. I mean, I get why they cast Chevy Chase for this character, and
mhm.
I wish this movie had a little bit more of a plot like the first one. I felt like he
Right,
wasn't really being that much of an investigative journalist in this one. It felt more
right.
like, let's put Fletch in a situation and see how he gets himself out of it.
I did, yeah. No, I liked the plot, but like you said, it could have been a little more in depth. Like I like again, I've watched documentaries with, like on Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and all of the televangelists that scam people. So that's kind of an interest of mine. And I thought that it was interesting that in 1989 they were weaving that into a plot, even though it was a comedy. They were shining some light on it about, you know, them listening through the earpieces, which was proven. They picked up on that, and all their little tricks and um, them defrauding people and getting people to send money in and defrauding little old ladies. And because the lawyer, his mom, was defrauded in her last days by
Mm-hmm.
that preacher, and that's what's set him on this path with the whole land thing.
Actually, that might be my favorite part of the movie is just that little plot point in Arlie Emery's performance.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I'm like, man, they did their research on that, and the whole Bible land. That was a
Yeah.
that was a real place. That's it's not anymore, but it was Heritage USA is what it's
Hmm.
called, and I think it isn't it
Well,
like Branson
there's.
or
I wouldn't be surprised if it's in Branson, but I know in Kentucky they have like some kind of Noah's Ark museum thing too.
which has flooding issues. Apparently, what I've heard. Like, I'm not joking. Like, no joke.
That's kind of ironic.
Yeah, they have had like flooding, like a bunch of issues, like flooding issues and stuff like that, and it's kind of funny, but it's funny but not funny.
Right.
But
But you want to know another cringe a thing to make you cringe about this movie?
what's that?
So Chevy Chase's love interest in this movie's the
I thought she looked a little young.
realtor. Okay, so she's a realtor, right?
Right.
Turns out to be Arlie Emery's daughter. Chevy Chase is a year older than Arlie Emery was.
Oh man,
Of course, the
that's rough.
actress is not old enough to be either one of their children, but just
Right.
just just like that aspect of it's like,
That's a little
okay.
oogie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad that Gina Davis didn't come back and have
Well,
a role. But I know
yeah,
she went on to better things.
she kind of blew up after the first movie, so
Right.
yeah, in 1989, she's just coming off Beetlejuice and The Accidental
No, yeah.
Tourist. I don't know what she did that year in '89, but those were recent hits she was in. But yeah, because she did The Fly, so yeah,
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
she kind of blew up after Fletch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I just wish there was more like of an investigative plot of like because in the first one he's like trying to do a bust the corrupt police with drugs and then
yeah.
gets into this other scam that kind of is together with the scam and this one like I said It just feels like he gets thrown into this situation and he's just trying to get himself out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another dated thing. The whole Randall Tex Cobb stuff in the jail. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. And the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The only other movie I've seen him in, and I liked him because he didn't say anything, was in Raising Arizona.
Yeah, he's great in Racing Arizona.
Yeah. I love it. It's another great movie. But yeah, it's usually I'm for watching a movie, especially if it's a sequel to something, even if the sequel's bad. But this one's a meh. Like, you could watch the first one and be okay. Now, if you're just really interested in it, yeah, you can give it a watch and decide for yourself, and you can check out the stuff that didn't date so well. But I'm definitely on the lower rung.
Yeah, this is exactly why most comedy sequels tend to not work. Is because a lot of times they try to recapture what works so well in the first movie, and comedy doesn't quite work that way. And besides, comedy changes because we evolve as a society, and so
Right,
things that we thought was funny 36 years ago is not funny now.
right.
And hopefully in 36 more years, we will have evolved further. And the stuff that's in 2021 movies will not be funny. Or will,
Right.
I mean, I know there are old movies that are still funny, but you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
you can't make those things because we know
Animal
better
House.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Animal House, that's one of them. But yeah, it's like I said, there's a few one-liners that cracked me up, but I mean, other than that, eh.
It's a shame because I think, they could have made a franchise out of this, but for
I would have
whatever.
liked to have seen more. Like, he's good in that role if it was written a little differently. Like, he can deliver those again. The one-liners are funny, some of them. Uh, he can deliver them, and he's got that way of just being that. Just probably because he's that way in real life, as from what I've heard. But he's just a great smartass, and he can do it if they were just written. I mean, he can't do it anymore, but he could have gone on to do more movies. They could have gotten like 4 or 5 movies out of it at least before it turned into Police Academy and got like 13.
I guess this one did not do as well though, so that's probably why they didn't
Right.
do another one. I mean the first one I guess was popular enough to get a sequel, so but I guess, by 1989 people are like, nah, I don't need to see him doing this again.
Yeah.
But it's not as good of a movie, so I mean that might be part of it. I don't know. Word of mouth might have gotten people. I don't know when this came out. Like if it was a summer movie. If it's a summer
Um,
movie, I know exactly why it didn't do well.
yeah. Let's see. March 17th.
So it was not a summer movie. So I don't know
No.
what was creaming it at the box office then.
Mm.
I was gonna say because everyone was watching Batman in the summer of '89.
Yeah. That's what it was. They were like, no, we're not. I remember, oh, I won't get into that story, but I remember, no, I will get into that story. We were waiting in line for episode 3, and Kicking and Screaming had come out with Will Ferrell and Robert Duvall, like a really horrible movie. And we were taking shifts, like going in and watching movies, like we were waiting in line all day. This is back when we had to wait in line before you could, pre-order your seats. You could just pre-order your tickets, but it was first come first serve. So we were there first in line camping out, and we got there like right as they opened up. And they were like, okay, well, we'll go and watch the 11 o'clock show, and you guys hold the line, and then we'll switch out and we'll eat up some of the day like that, and went and Kicking and Screaming. And that was a horrible movie. And I've not wanted to walk out in a lot of movies, but I was like, man, I'll have a better time sitting in line outside than I would watching this movie. It was bad. It was bad. And I can usually sit through and stomach a lot of movies, but this one just didn't hold my interest at all. And I know I was ready for Star Wars, that was the big thing. But yeah, Kicking and Screaming was a bomb.
Yeah, that was it was at the height of Will Ferrell being in comedies, and I guess they were trying to see like some other type of vehicles to get him in. But I think he works best with Adam McKay, even though they're no longer working together, because Adam McKay is interested in doing more political and topical films instead of doing comedies. And
I mean, good for him in a way, but the world needs more comedy.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Step Brothers too. Actually, no, I wouldn't. But again, I would. Like, I'm torn.
I mean, did you like Anchorman too? Because it's probably going to be about the same as that.
I know, and Dumb and Dumber too. Like, I've learned my lesson, but I haven't. Like, I want to see it really bad, but then I'm just like, it's better off with just the first one.
Yeah, it's like this movie that we're talking about.
Yeah,
better off with the first one.
Exactly.
I mean, you can probably count on your hand how many comedy sequels are actually good, and then you could probably subtract a few more because you just might like them while most people don't.
Right.
Like even Ghostbusters 2, popular movie. I know a lot of people that like it, but it's, regarded not as good as the original.
It's not as good as the original. It's a fun movie though, and I like it.
I would say
it has its solid moments and it has its less solid moments, just like the first one does. The first one, it's close to a perfect movie. It has its flaws, but mainly in Peter Venkman and his habit of carrying around Thorazine on date.
That's a little creepy. Why do you have Thorazine when you're going on a date? What are you up to, Dr. Peter Venkman?
Right.
Did you get canceled?
I like to think that he went back to the lab and picked up, whatever it was, and was like, "Look, this is a possession. I can't call an ambulance. This is beyond us. I need the team. So I'm going to go back to the lab. I'm going to try to sedate her the best I can." That's what we want to believe, right? That's like what we want to think.
Also, do psychiatrists just carry drugs around them on their person like all the time just in case someone's having a psychotic episode?
Right. They don't.
Like
that's what I meant. Maybe he had time to go back to the lab,
Deleted scenes.
Right.
I would say a comedy sequel that works, again, and probably has not aged well. I haven't seen it in 20 years, is the Austin Powers sequel. This first one, not the gold member one, but
the second one holds up. Like, we watched those a couple of months ago, and even in the first one, it had a lot of, like, of course it was filled with sex jokes and penis jokes and stuff, but it also had the part where she's they're both drunk, or she's more drunk than he is, and she's ready, and he's like, "Oh no, no, this isn't right. You roll over and go to sleep. I can't do this." And I was like, "Wow!" In 19 was it
99.
99? Yeah. No, the first one was the first one in
First one's
99.
97.
Yeah, this was in the first
Oh, the
one,
original. Well, I think
and
the
the original.
original is still the better movie, but I do
Of
think the
course.
second one was a good sequel.
Yeah, that one holds up too. Like that one, it had its gross moments, but it had its funny.
Did you know that the second movie grossed the first movie's total grosses in its opening weekend? And there's only one other movie that did that as
Wow.
far, and that was the Pitch Perfect 2, because the first, like Austin Powers, the original Pitch Perfect wasn't really a big financial hit,
Right.
but it got popular off of rentals. Actually, I guess Pitch Perfect got popular off of word of mouth, I guess, and people started renting and downloading it. But anyways, both sequels ended up grossing the original film's entire box office in its opening weekend.
Wow. That's crazy. That's insane.
Because, I mean, other people would say Wayne's World 2 is not a good sequel.
I like Wayne's World too. Like those are movies that I really don't pick apart a lot because of the content of the movies. They're just funny. I mean, immature movies, if that makes sense. uh,
And I mean, I've never watched all the Hangovers, but I remember watching the second one and thinking, like, why did they just make the same movie again?
yeah, I haven't seen the third one yet. I've seen the second one. Yeah, I've seen the first two, but I never watched the third one. I don't know. It just didn't like pique my interest when it
Mm-hmm.
came out. I'm sure I'll get around to it one of these days. Like I'll get bored and be like, you know what? I don't know why, but I want to watch the Hangover trilogy, and I'll probably watch them.
I
But I
mean,
don't know
most
when
of
that'll be.
those movies, I mean, most of Todd Phillips's movies have not aged well. That's supposedly why he made Joker, because he's like, you can't be funny anymore. And then
Oh man, old
Mark
school.
Maron said, maybe you're not funny then.
Yeah, that's great.
He's
Old
like, because
school.
there's,
Old school is one I'll go back and visit every once in a while, even though it's not. So a lot of it has not aged well, but there are some parts that I still find hilarious. And that movie came out in my college years, so it's kind of like the Jackass movies. They're so
did you know
wrong.
they're doing another Jackass movie?
I know, and I kind of want to see it. I've watched the other. I watched all of the others in theaters, so uh, no, I'm not gonna watch this one in theater. Of course, this one can wait, but I'll watch it just because they're
Uh,
old and this is their last movie, and I want to see them get hurt one more time.
so speaking of Fletch, did you know that Kevin Smith tried to make these into movies, like bring the franchise back?
I heard he had tried to do something with that, and that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was originally going to be Jason Lee, and then it ended up being potentially Zach Braff before.
Oh, Jason Lee could have done it. I think he
Mm-hmm.
could have done it. Now that you mention his name, that would have been interesting. I could have seen that. Speaking of Clerks 3, by the way, which I'm kind of excited about.
Oh, I would say
I'm nervous.
Clerks 2 works as a sequel.
I loved the first one. Me and Lindsay will watch that every couple of months just because it's a sweet movie. Like it's crude, but
Actually,
it's a
I
really sweet
think that
movie.
movie's probably, even though it's incredibly crude, it's probably aged better than some of his other films.
It has. Like we'll revisit that one more than any of his others because I don't know. Like it's extremely crude, but at the core, it's a sweet movie. And by the end of it, like I'm I cry sometimes. I'm like, I'll admit.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about Clerks 3 as well because I'm wondering if Kevin Smith movies just aren't good anymore, or if I'm like, I've outgrown Kevin Smith and like these movies have always been this kind of quality, and now I'm like not into his humor anymore.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think I'm still immature just enough to enjoy his stuff. Like I'm hopeful because a studio actually picked this up and he has the studio backing. Before he had to crowdfund, like with the last Jay and Silent Bob reboot. He had to crowdfund that. So he did not have the quality that some of his other movies had. So that's kind of the hopeful thing, is the fact that a studio picked it up and they're actually giving him money. Not only that, but Rosario Dawson just came back. He shared that on Twitter. Like everybody's coming back for this. So I'm excited. And he bought the Quick Stop.
Yeah.
He bought that whole strip mall, and so now he owns Quick Stop, and it's still a convenience store. And everything next to that, where the video store was, they built that into a smod castle, and it's where they're going to start having live podcasts and like
Oh, cool.
table reads and stuff like that. And it's where
Well,
they're
I guess if he's doing his podcast with Mark Bernardin, then if he's doing it from Jersey, he's going to be video because doesn't he live in Los Angeles?
He does. And this is for like guests. This is for like they're doing like workshops and like a bunch of stuff. It's pretty cool. Like you should check it out. It's like they've got a bunch of videos up on YouTube, like what they're doing with it. And
But funny about Jason Lee and Kevin Smith is I believe Mallrats is the first time I ever heard about Fletch, because there's a scene where Jason Lee, I guess he's telling Shannon Doherty or someone, you owe me my copy of Fletch or something.
yeah. Mallrats. I haven't seen that in a while, but the last time I watched it, I watched the alternate cut, like the is it the direct? Would it be a director's cut? I know there's like an alternate cut of it that has like extra scenes.
Maybe it could be just like an unrated edition or something. I don't know.
Maybe it's unrated.
I didn't know any of his movies had a technical director's cut. I know that like most of his films, like rough cut, are like almost 3 hours long before they edit them.
Like I've
just
got
because the amount of dialogue.
Years ago at this magical mythical place that I miss so much called Hastings in Nacogdoches, I picked up the 10th anniversary set of Clerks, of the first Clerks, and it's got an alternate cut where
Dante gets killed.
Dante gets killed at the end of it, and there's there's no track, like no music track, and it's really rough. And
that was his original ending, which I guess, like he wasn't even supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But Sundance was like, you got to take that out. You can't end the movie that way.
And then the studio was like, we need grunge music. So, they gave him the soundtrack and the rest of his history. So.
Oh, so the studios, so Weinstein and Miramax were like, you got to put grunge music in it because it's the 90s.
There was no track. There was no audio at all. There was no, like, and that version's on the one of the discs that I have. So you get to watch the original Sundance version of Clerks, which is it's cool, but it's really drug out because, again, there's no music in it at all. So when the studio picked it up, by happenstance, because apparently nobody went to see it in the theater like that it was showing, and this one guy went to watch it, and he was like, I don't know why, but this is funny, and took it to Miramax, and then they were like, okay, we'll pick it up, but we're gonna add a hip soundtrack, and we're gonna let you recut it a little bit, and different ending. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting story behind it. Sorry, ramble.
It's okay. We're rambling because there's not much to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
It was nice to see the Blazing Saddle guy, even though he was. I was glad that his character was at the end was like put on, like that wasn't his actual character, like he was an undercover FBI agent.
Well, there's little hints.
Well, yeah, again, because he knows a little bit too much of what's going on, and like
and he lets on, like Fletch says in the story, he lets on. He's a lot smarter than what he's, the Amos and Andy act or whatever. And I like the part where he's
was
like,
also like, "Ooh, Chevy Chase, why did you say that?"
Yeah. He was like, hey, help me with this. Yeah, just lean a little forward. He's getting that trunk out of the car. There you go. There you go. You got it. All right, don't scratch the car. I was like, that's great.
And then you got Hal Holbrook, which, spoiler, I thought even though he ends up being the bad guy, they set it up pretty decently that you didn't suspect him at first as the bad guy.
That is true. That's true. But then, the first time he mentioned his mom getting swindled, by him, I was like, okay.
He's got a motive.
Yeah, there's a motive. Wah, wah.
And it was nice to see Phil Hartman. I didn't know Phil Hartman had a small role in this movie.
Right. I think really one of the only things I like about this, except for Arlie Ermey's portrayal of the preacher, I did like Chevy's where he went in there as Faith Healer Smoot or whatever, and he
that was, of all his stupid outfits and characters he does in this one, yeah, that was probably the best one, especially when he messes with who they're healing and the guy has hemorrhoids.
Yeah, that was great.
And then he's like guessing somebody's name, and he's like, and then between the ages of
you could tell he's got a migraine. He's like, oh Jesus, he's like, somebody suffers from chronic migraines, and he goes, I got one right now. Lord heal me. That was great. Yeah, that part always cracks me up. But yeah, other than that, that's about it.
Yeah. It is about it. It's not a very interesting, or it's not even so bad like we could like just rib on how terrible of a movie it is. It's just like it's a forgotten film of the late 80s that should probably stay forgotten.
Right. Yeah. You could probably just watch the first one and get away with it. Like the first one has its moments, and again, it's not perfect. But it's better story driven, and it's got some funnier moments on it.
It's better story driven. It's got funnier moments, and yeah, like you actually get to see Fletch actually be good at his job,
right?
Whereas this one is just like, I don't even know if this was based off a specific book in the series, or they just decided to wing it and place it in the South for whatever reason, which makes sense if they wanted to like comment on the televangelist movement of that era, which we still have this going on, but I know that was like they were huge at this time.
That was in the heyday, and that's that's really one of the only things that I can commend them for on this movie is showing that like that was going on, and they were doing Dateline and NBC stories on this back in the 80s, and it was a big deal. So the fact that they would weave it into a comedy movie was pretty good. I like that part of the story, like, and the fact that it exposed their little tricks and tricks of the trade and their how they swindle money from old people and people from all walks of life, and it's pretty sad. But anyway, but yeah, that's about it. Really,
I like the score, but it's the score from the original.
yeah, they just reworked it like more synth sounding.
Yeah. I like Fletch's theme.
Yeah, Fletch's that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I had a pretty good score, but but like you said, it's pretty forgettable. I mean, but if you're just curious and you're bored and you're always looking for something to watch, I mean, I guess give it a try. I mean,
if you're really wanting to do a deep dive into the career of Chevy Chase.
Right. I mean, there's stuff I haven't seen. Like is it Over the Rainbow or Under the Rainbow? And
I don't know. I don't know that one.
he did that with Carrie Fisher back in, it had to have been 80, 79,
okay.
80, somewhere in there. Like let's see.
I haven't seen either film he did with Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either. I've seen Spies Like Us, which I actually kind of like that.
Is that good? That's him and Dan Aykroyd, right?
It's not great, but I liked it because I like Dan Aykroyd, and it's got some funny moments. I mean,
I enjoyed The Three Amigos. I like that one.
I love The Three Amigos. Like, that's one I watched a lot as a kid because it was hilarious, and we had it recorded off of HBO. But let's see. Yeah, man, his other stuff was bad. Cops and Robertsons. That was
never seen it, but I think it's the same director as these two Fletch films.
Oh no, man! They both hit rock bottom in that one. It was rough, and Jack Palance. And I like the City Slicker movies.
I'm trying to think, is there a good movie in the 90s Chevy Chase was in?
Nope. I used to have The Invisible Man, and although it wasn't a great movie, I used to watch it back then and thought it was cool because it was different. Like, I had never seen Chevy Chase in anything like that. And I like the story of The Invisible Man, and it was a different spin on it. So, I mean, it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch once.
It's worth a watch once because it is oddly directed by John Carpenter, but it also has Sam Neill in it, who is probably the best person in the movie, who plays the bad guy.
Yeah, it's like a train wreck. Like, it's not great, but you got to watch it anyway. Oh, hey, congratulations on Escape from LA, by the way. I'm glad you liked it. Welcome to the club, buddy. That makes me happy. Because every time I talk to somebody about it, they're like, ew. And I'm like, what?
I had seen it before a few times, and I remember the first time I watched it when it came out, I thought it was pretty cool. But then I watched the original, and I think every time I've watched it since, I've had this, like, it's just trying to be Escape from New York, but not as good. But this time I was like, let me just watch the movie as it is. And yes, it is nowhere near as good as Escape from New York.
It's a fun movie, though.
It's fun, and I felt like the over-religious government felt very
irrelevant.
Like, the movie felt more relevant to me today than it did.
Yeah, man.
Like the last time I watched it.
Yeah, and a killer soundtrack too. I used to have it on CD back in the day.
But I mean, it is basically going through the same beats as the original, just a little different.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just love Kurt Russell as this character, so I was just like, you know what? This is a pretty good movie for what it is. It's not great. It's not one of John Carpenter's better movies, but I guess like out of his later films, like this is probably the best one besides In the Mouth of Madness.
Right. Yeah, I rented it on VHS, and like ever since I watched it, I was like, man, that's so good. That's a badass movie. Like it wasn't great, but it's got that cheese. It's just got
And I
the
think that's why a lot of people do that is because the first one is so good.
yeah.
It like it's just that they're like, oh, this is nothing like the first movie. I think that's a lot of people's hangups with it. And maybe they felt like the satire wasn't satire enough because, it's basically Carpenter dunking on Los Angeles and Hollywood.
Oh yeah. I love definitely with the plastic surgeon.
Well, yeah, Bruce Campbell. Wow, that's too much chin in one scene. You got Campbell and Russell in this. How did the cameras get them both in there?
Right. But yeah, that was a clever. I like how he sent them all back to the Dark Ages too. Like that was good.
Spoilers for Escape from LA, even though we're
Whoops.
supposed to be talking about Fletch Lives, but we
My
decided to
bad.
talk about cooler movies.
Yes. Hey, I saw somebody. I saw a post online earlier. It was like, "Hey, name like a really talking about sequels. What a coinkydink!" It was like, name a really good sequel, and people were naming off all these movies, and I was like, Spider-Man 2, of course. Man, that train, that Doc Ock fight still holds up to this day. Is one of the best superhero fight scenes ever. I don't care who you are. That was jaw-dropping. Like,
Yeah, I go back and forth between whether Spider-Man 2 or Into Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie. It's so hard because they're both so good. I think Spider-Verse really is a great film, and I think it's one of the best, like, true comic book adaptations, like a comic book come to life.
oh
And
yeah,
plus
definitely.
all the different styles of animation it uses.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful movie. I wish I could have seen that in theaters. I didn't get a chance to. Like, I wanted to see it in 3D, and I didn't get a chance to do it. I heard it was gorgeous, like in 3D, and
So the one thing I think the live action Spider-Man movies have all been missing
mhm.
is Spider-Man's sense of humor. I don't feel like it's really in there. Like even the Tom Holland movies.
They amped it up a little bit in the Tom Holland movies, but not near enough.
Well, Andrew Garfield, I guess if I'm not here to dunk on Andrew Garfield. I'm just not a fan of those Spider-Man movies.
Me
That
neither.
was one thing he did have that the other two actors haven't, was that he did have that smart ass part of Peter Parker, but
Right.
I didn't like him as Peter Parker though. I felt like he was too cool for school for Peter Parker. But I thought he was he
Well,
was a decent Spider-Man. He had the build, he had like all that, but I feel
he
like
did,
those
but they all look 30 years old, except for Tom Holland.
no, Tom Holland, who is 25 now, still looks like he's like 13 or 14 years old.
He still passes as a teenager, and that's what works with him. So, which
Yeah.
by the way, did you watch the new What If today?
I did watch What If. It was
Okay, we
good.
haven't seen it. I've got it ready. I have not watched it yet, so it's probably going to be tomorrow. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm excited. I'm ready to watch it.
Yeah, I want to see what
That and
other.
sorry, go ahead.
I was like, I want to see what other stories in the Marvel universe they like do.
Yeah, that and Lower Decks comes out tomorrow too.
Oh
So
well,
I'm
I don't have Paramount Plus right now.
oh okay.
It's a lot of
I really
streaming
like those.
services.
Yeah, I really liked Lower Decks.
But yeah, Star Trek is coming back, I guess, which is cool. I'm glad.
It's about time. It had a long hiatus. It's been out since 2004.
Is that when
Actually,
Enterprise
2005.
canceled?
It was
Yeah.
04 or 5.
Well, that's probably why they developed the movie series, was because there was no TV series anymore.
Yeah, and it was dead because I mean I grew up. There was always Star Trek on TV, like Next
Well, yeah,
Gen,
that's true, because
DS9.
after Next Gen came out, then Deep Space Nine came out while Next Gen was still going.
Yeah.
And then Voyager came on like a year or two after Next Gen canceled. And then I guess Enterprise started before Voyager canceled.
It started the same year. Like
The same year.
they always over kind of overlapped a little bit. So that way there would
Mm-hmm.
always be Star Trek on TV. A little fun fact, I was so into Enterprise that and this is funny and I wish I could find the newspaper clipping, but I organized a Save Enterprise rally in Dallas, and me and my uncle and niece drove up there, and we were joined with about I want to say about 80 other people, like in costume and like honk, for Star Trek. And we were outside of the UPN station, and they did that all over the United States, and they were this close to renewing it, and then just decided to cut it.
Well, okay, so this is of the time of online campaigns. I wonder
It was
there was
big. I was in
why there
those chat
wasn't an
rooms, man.
online campaign, like, because that's kept some shows alive for
Yeah,
a while.
this was they had a website like the StarTrek.com back in the day that everybody would go to, and these things, man, they were organized, and I was like, you know what? I will get one going in Dallas. I'll do it. I'll be that guy because we cannot have this show canceled because they were like, if they cancel this show, this is it. Like Star Trek's going to be dead for a while, and that's
Well, I mean, it's not the first time. I mean, that was a shorter lived time than before, because I mean, this
well,
original series canceled in '69.
yeah,
I know they tried an animated series for one or two seasons in the mid '70s, early '70s.
early to mid 70s. I've got
And
those.
then I
Great.
guess after Star Wars came out and was so popular, Roddenberry's like, well, why don't we try doing movies?
Yeah, the studios were like, Fox has Star Wars. Paramount needs its own Star Wars, and they're like, okay, what about Star Trek? They were working on Phase 2, which was supposed to be the new series, and they even had it down to casting before they were like, okay, stop. We're going to transition this into a movie. So that's what happened, and the rest is history. I could go into it, and because I cannot wait to start our Star Trek series if we can get around to it, because that's one of my all-time favorite things in the world. And I know this is probably blasphemy, and as much as I love Star Wars, Star Trek is like the superior. And I know I see that disappointed look on your face, Cody. I'm sorry. I'm going to be
No,
that guy.
I like both. I like both for different reasons. I
No,
think
I do too. It's
I think
different,
I think Star Wars is it's sci-fi fantasy.
right?
It's more of a fantasy franchise than it is sci-fi. I've had my ups and downs with Star Wars. I
Mhm.
think I will say probably Star Trek is a more consistent franchise
Right.
so far. And I think I could be wrong. There's probably toxic Star Trek fans out there too. But it seems like the fandom is a little more accepting of different people coming in and taking a stab at it than they are with Star Wars.
They are. I mean, there's because I've been especially online. I've been in these a part of this fandom since the dial-up days of internet, like in the old school chat rooms. Like that's how far. back online that I've been active in these groups, I can tell you, and this is from personal experience, that online Star Wars has the more toxic fan base. And I hate that because I love Star Wars. Like, I went through a Star Wars phase where, like, that's all I consumed. I was buying the toys and
But
I watching the movies every
I,
day. But
as much as I dislike Into Darkness, I don't think like the vitriol for that film was the same as Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
it wasn't. There's a huge difference. Like, there was disappointment and there was hate for it. But man, Star Wars was 10 times worse.
And it's probably because
I'll
it's a
tell you
bigger
this.
fan base mainstream wise than
Mainstream wise, yes. But I'll tell you this. I know of one other actress who got so much hate that it caused her mental stress to the point to where she broke down and had to be committed. And there are several people in Star Wars, including
well,
Jake
Jake Lloyd,
Jake
Ahmed
Lloyd.
Best, the actor who was Jar Jar Binks, and now Kelly Marie Tran, who was Rose in The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I mean,
I
hers
saw
wasn't to
so
the
much
degree
hate. Yeah,
to
I saw
those
so
two,
much
but
hate.
she got off social media for people just being rude and bad mouthing her and saying horrible things about an actress just because they didn't like her character in a movie.
I saw Jake Lloyd at a convention in Austin, and that dude was just empty. He had that 1,000-yard stare. He could not smile. He was just, I don't even think he was there mentally. Like, his body was there in Austin sitting behind that booth. But that dude just, poor kid. That's all I could think at the time. Like, I didn't even want to go up and meet him because I was like, man, I know for a fact he is not having a good time. Like, he just looks absolutely miserable.
And like I know like Voyager and Enterprise and even Discovery, there are lots of Trek fans that don't like those series.
Right.
But I don't hear like them like, you know, coming after Scott Bakula or
They're
Kate
they're
Mulgrew.
they're out there, but there are more fans that stick up for it than there are people who hate on it. But in the Star Wars fandom, there are more people who hate on it than there are fans sticking up for it. And that's what I've seen. Um, there's more people hating on it than but in Star Trek, somebody starts spouting off, and that's what I love about the Trek community is there are hateful people out there, and they'll start spouting off, which is so weird. If you've watched Star Trek and you're spouting off against trans people or race or something like, then you've totally missed the freaking point of Star Trek. And I'm sorry, I will die on that hill. But what I love about the Trek community is there will be, for one bigoted person that jumps on there will be 1,000 others that jump on there and just pounce on them. And they'll either tell him and they'll explain to him why that's not good, why that's wrong, or they'll just eviscerate him. So he'll get it. He's gonna learn either way.
And that's, I think, another thing of what I like about Star Trek is I like that it's one of the few properties in sci-fi that has a optimistic view of the future, even though there are problems because, you know, in the original series, you know, Klingons are the bad guys, but then we become allies as the series progresses. And then we have other things, Romulans and all these other races that the Federation has been in war with, but then in later iterations, they've become somewhat allies, you know, to where it's not as problematic. And I like that about the show is that it's about growing and evolving.
Right. No, exactly. And even in the newest incarnation of Trek, which it took me a little bit to get into, but I enjoy them now. I like them. Discovery turned out to be really well done. It was a little slow, a little odd in the first season, but it picked up and it got to where I really enjoy it. But they've really opened up and show, there's a lot more inclusion and yeah, I think they're learning from that, and I think they would have had that back in the '90s, especially with there were episodes of DS9 that kind of pushed the envelope. They had a lesbian kiss on there, and I think they would have been able to if it wasn't for the studio or the censors, they would have pushed that envelope a little more, and they were trying to do the best they could, but they had that pushback from the higher ups. But yeah, that's one of the things I liked about it was they were trying their best to kind of push that envelope and do that, kind of like when Kirk and Uhura kissed on TV. That was the first interracial kiss on TV, which I thought was cool. So, but man, we're getting off into Star Trek, and it's getting late, and so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. We could keep going forever. Mm-hmm. And by the way, people, if you're interested, I would really like to get a Star Trek, maybe some Star Trek episodes and talk about them, because we could really get into some stuff that's relevant to today. I could go pick through the different series and pick some different episodes and guarantee you that we could find something that's relevant with today, especially with, I'm thinking of an episode that correlates with COVID, believe it or not, and that's crazy. But you could pick one Star Trek episode, and it would be somewhat relevant with what's going on today. And I think that's one of the cool things about Star Trek. And but yeah, we definitely need to hit that up at some point.
Just let me know. We can do it. And then, if it wants to morph into something else, we can tackle it. But I think if we did a Star Trek one, we would be busy for a while.
Right. I still want to get my uncle on, at least a guest star, to guest host. But man, there's so much we could do with what. An interesting concept would be to find a news story. Okay, we could both pick, behind the scenes. We'll look through the news, what's going on in the last couple of days. We'll pick one news story, and then search through all of the episodes, and I guarantee you we could pick something out that's relevant to that news story, and then we could watch it and talk about the relevance. Would be kind of a cool concept, maybe. Instead of, because I've been trying to decide how we would do that. I don't know. Anyway, watch Fletch Lives or not. It doesn't matter. This one I'm giving probably more of a thumbs down. Siskel and Ebert thumbs down.
Yeah, I would say this isn't necessarily an avoid, but I would say you don't have to waste your time with this unless you are just, if you are like a huge Fletch fan, like the novels and stuff and you read them and you're a fan of the series, then yeah. Or if for some reason you love Chevy Chase, or at least Chevy Chase back in his heyday, then yeah. But if not, then just let this live in its time capsule that it needs to stay in. And right. I look forward to whatever John Hamm, is it going to be a TV show? I think it's going to be a TV show, not a movie.
Yeah.
I actually look forward to seeing what they do with that. It could be fun.
Maybe they can redeem him.
Maybe they can redeem him, and I buy John Hamm more as a ladies' man than I do Chevy Chase. So
That's one series that I've been wanting to go watch is Mad Men.
yeah,
I
I've
don't know.
only
I'm on
seen
the
the
fence.
first season. Um, so, but I mean, I guess it's supposed to be one of the best television shows that was out there.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it holds up to the Sopranos.
That's everyone's ratio, and I would say that Breaking Bad and The Wire come close.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was so good, and I need to get her to finish it. Lindsay, we watched to the point to where Jesse follows this couple back to their home, and I think they had stolen an ATM machine, maybe,
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
it was like a meth house, and he found this little boy, and Lindsay just broke down. She couldn't watch it anymore. She was like, I can't, because it's when little kids are involved, and I know it's me. I know it's a story, and it's make believe. It's sad, and it's heart wrenching. It's supposed to be, but man, she broke down. She was like, I can't finish it. So we stopped, and that was years ago, and we haven't picked it up. So, but I've been wanting to go back and rewatch it because it was such a great story. It was intense at times.
Yeah, I love it so much because they ended it before the show, cuz a lot of TV shows that just keep going and going. You kind of are like, okay, it's probably time. You could have ended the show a few seasons ago, but they were
Right.
like, no, it's time to end the show because if we keep going, we're going to run out of steam.
Now I know you got a lot of shows that and I want to bring one up, and I know I bring it up all the time. But if you ever get a chance, you've got to watch the Battlestar Galactica reboot. I'm telling you, man, it's great. It's my all-time. It's like one of my all-time favorite like TV shows. Such a great job. You'll enjoy it.
So
No
do
joke.
we
It's not a trap.
I mean, I know a lot of people that love it. I mean, I knew people that watched it religiously when it was out, and then I know people that say it's still one of the best shows made in the last 20 years. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
dude. It was every Friday night I would get off of work, and like my uncle had a big screen. Now this is my uncle Mark. He's the one I own the comic book shop with. He's the only one around us that had a big screen. So I'd get off work. He would get off work, and we'd go by and get whatever food we were going to eat, and we'd all meet at his house, and we'd sit there and we'd turn on Sci-Fi Channel, and it was Stargate, Doctor Who, Stargate Atlantis, and then BSG, like
Oh
all
yeah,
in a
that's
row.
right. I forgot that Sci-Fi did the American distribution of the first 2 or 3 seasons of. Well, they might have done it up until the end of the Tennant era of Doctor Who.
They did, because we watched it like even after we bought the comic book shop. We would hook up the TV, and we would have like Friday nights. Like that was our thing. We'd watch all those shows, and we kept up with them. But we were so religious about BSG because they would always, man, cliffhangers and lots of great action and space battles and just intense like story plots and twists, and it was excellent show. Great soundtrack. Like I will advocate for that show. Like I showed it to Lindsay here like during 2020. That's what we did. We sat down like early 2020 when all this shit was blowing up with COVID, and we just binged BSG, and she was like, "Man, I can't believe I waited this long to watch it. It was great." So yeah, I advocate if you get a chance, watch it. Now, when you do, they released like little webisodes, and there are made for TV movies that came out like that fit in between the seasons, and they all like they all fit together. So you let me know, and I'll tell you which order you got to start and watch them in.
Okay. Do we want to say what we want to do next week? Do you know
Yeah,
what
what
we
do
want
we
to do
want?
next week?
What do we want to do next week? I know there's Dirty Dancing.
Mm-hmm.
There's
What about Bob, Indian Summer, and Adam's Family Values?
hmm
I believe we have, yeah, I believe we have 3 more weeks. So
three.
one of those
Okay.
movies has got to go, but it
Ooh,
could just be
September, right there on the cusp of the holidays, man. I'm excited. That's
process
where I
of
start getting.
elimination.
I know What About Bob is one that I think we need to watch
Okay.
for sure because that's a good Bill Murray and the other guy from the two Spielberg movies,
Richard Dreyfuss? Yeah.
Dreyfuss. Yeah. um, let's see. I don't know, man. Do you have any other suggestions? Like, I mean,
I'm going off your list, man. This was your baby this summer movie. This
um,
summer movie season thing.
I don't know, man. Like, did you say you've seen Dirty Dancing, right?
Yes, I've seen Dirty Dancing.
Okay. What have you
I've
not
seen,
seen?
huh?
Have you seen Indian Summer?
A long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, me too. I haven't watched it again. It was like a Stars. It came on Stars back when we had satellite at my parents. So it's probably mid 2000s since I've seen it.
No, mine's been even later. I think my dad rented it, and then my older brother mentioned to me, he's like, "Hey, Sam Raimi's the guy that drives the boat.
Huh.
He's Alan
Oh,
Arkin's assistant."
wow. Yeah, now that I can kind of picture him, I forgot he was in that. I don't
Yeah,
know. What's another summer movie? Hey, Evil Dead. Is that more? No, that's more of a fall or a
it's a
Halloween movie.
fall Halloween movie, but I'm always up for some Evil Dead.
Yeah. What's something? I don't know. I'm stumped.
You're stumped. Why don't we do What About Bob? We can talk about another problematic SNL alum.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoy this problematic guy a little bit more.
I enjoy him in his older age. He has mellowed quite a bit.
Which is opposite of Chevy Chase, who I think has just doubled down on his
You know what's sad
terribleness.
is here a couple of years ago. It was during like an anniversary of an SNL, and they had all the first season cast, come up on stage, and they didn't invite Bill Murray.
He wasn't in the first season.
Well, no, but it was like that first, and it wasn't just the first season. It was that first like
Oh, the
group of
first
cast
run, that
members,
group, yeah.
and he was in the audience. And I can't remember if it was Jane Curtin or it was one of them that was like, "Whoa, okay, we're gonna stop. We gotta, Bill. You're in the audience. You deserve to be up here too." And I thought that was sad that they had to stop the ceremony and they had to invite him up on stage, but he wasn't a part of the initial group. He wasn't a part of the recognition, which he should have been.
Yeah, that is a little weird. I'm gonna say What About Bob because I have a copy of that, so that's not gonna be hard for me to watch.
Okay. All right. People, what about Bob?
I mean, we announced it like over a month ago and then changed it.
Right. Tonight's drink of choice is brought to you by Andre Brute Rose, alcoholic beverage in a can.
Oh, mine was Jim Beam with some Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, good choice, sir. Good choice. I got this one because it had a high alcohol content of 9.5% alcohol content. So I was like,
Impressive.
hell yeah, in a can? Sure.
But I guess if that's going to do it, we rambled for like 80 minutes and only talked about Fletch for about 20 or 25 minutes.
Hey,
Guess
that's impressive.
guess we should have just watched the first one. But I'd never seen this one before, so that's why we watched it.
Right.
And I thought it would be better than Vegas Vacation. I guess maybe one day I'll see if I was right or wrong.
All right. Well,
But
guys, yeah, go ahead, Cody. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, but I guess that's gonna call it for tonight. We may be back Friday just to discuss Jason and Friday the 13th. If not, you'll see us Saturday afternoon with our Wes Anderson series talking about Rushmore.
All right, that works. I'm excited about that because I have not seen Rushmore.
Oh, you've never seen Rushmore either?
I've never seen
Wow.
Rushmore. I know it.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Interesting. God, I'm gonna be
So,
the only person that has seen the movie.
hey, it's gonna be fun, man. I love it when I haven't seen something and we're gonna talk about it. So, we'll watch it the day of or the night before, and it'll be fresh on our minds. And yeah, we'll go from there.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. And stay safe out there.
Good night, Reject Land.